Hi, welcome back to Blender for the 2D artist. Today we're going to be talking about the actual controls. Hopefully you weren't too lost following the other two videos. Today I'm just going to be talking about how to actually sort of use some the controls, like how to navigate in the 3D viewport and just some basic shortcuts. So if I want to sort of pivot around the focal point, it is middle mouse and drag. That's it. So middle mouse and drag, and I'm just orbiting around like this. Sort of see my cursor and how it's moving. If I hold shift and middle mouse, I'm just moving my view without changing its rotation. If I scroll up on my mouse wheel, I can zoom in, and if I scroll back, I can zoom out. So if I can sort of maybe if I want to sort of get in here and really look at something, I can do that. Another important thing is sort of zeroing. So if let's say I duplicate this and I duplicate a whole bunch of things. So we have a bunch of objects in our scene, and I want to view, something like over here. You can see that I'm trying to zoom in, but I just can't really quite get close enough to it. And the reason for this is, and let's say I want to pivot around, but it's not working like it was before. The reason is because this object in the middle is still our focal point, so everything is still rotating around it. So that's sort of the problem. To fix this, we're going to select that object that we want to focus on and hit the period button on our number pad. And now we are sort of zeroed in and we're focusing on this object. And this doesn't only work for objects. If we hit tab to switch into edit mode, we can select any number of vertices here and hit period, and that will focus on that vertice. So this can be very helpful if you just want to look at, very certain things. If I want to select multiple vertices, it's just shift click. So shift click, and now I'm selecting two of these. And if I hit period, now it is focusing on this connected line. If I shift click these other vertices, now it's selecting this whole face. If I hit period, now it's focusing on this face. Okay? So let's focus back on our main object and just sort of play around with these viewport controls. This is going to be very important when we want to focus on something. Just sort of practice like this. Let's look about these little icons up here. So right now we're in vertex select mode, and this is why you can see these different vertices popping up here. It's because we're in vertex select mode. We can change to edge select mode, and now the edges are kind of highlighted. So we can select edges, or we can select faces like this, so the whole face. It's important to remember though that all of these, that like an edge is just two vertices that are connected, and a face is three or more vertices that are connected. In this case, this is a quad because there are four vertices. So when you're changing a face, it is changing, the vertices, just so that's not confusing. Like if I decide to move this, so I'll hit G, which is the shortcut for moving, and I drag this way, you can see it's sort of stretching along this edge because this vertex and this vertex is connected. So I'm moving this face around, but since the vertex that connects this edge and this edge is also connecting this edge, it creates this sort of stretching. And so you just have to be sort of mindful of that when you're modeling. It should be I think you'll get used to it pretty quickly. It's just something that might be a little confusing as a beginner. So I can delete this and it's fine. So just sort of play around with it, you know, practice focusing and orbiting around different things because we're going to be using that a lot, like a lot, a lot, a lot. Another thing we're going to be doing, so hopefully you do have a number pad. A number pad is so crucial. I don't know how I could use Blender without the number pad. Are the different views that you can use. So if I hit 1 on my number pad, it goes into a front view. And this is an orthographic view, just so that we're clear. The difference between orthographic view and like the standard view is that the standard view is actually sort of like if we look here, there might be a way to actually showcase this. I'm not entirely sure how to do that though, unfortunately. Could be in here. I'm not sure. But basically this view here is not orthographic and this view is. And so if you have an area, actually it's easy to show this on the camera. So right here, this is like sort of the perspective view, and if we sort of change the focal length, you can see how it sort of gets like warped. You know what I mean? It's sort of just this little fisheye thing. And this is what's happening just on a minuscule scale in the regular viewport. So if we move out of our camera, it's basically the same thing, 50mm lens. But when we go to this, it's everything is flat. We can sort of zoom out and you can see that everything is still square. So this can be important for getting your measurements right and getting your perspective right. So this is the front view. If we hit 3 on a number pad, this changes to the side view. And the side view is the view that, like, so our camera is sort of looking at it from the east. So here we're looking at it from the south. This is east. And if you hit shift and 1, oh, oops, that's not what it's supposed to be. Sorry, control, my bad. Control 1, this will be looking at it from behind. So now we're looking at it from north. So before we just hit regular 1 is from the south. This is from the north. If we hit shift 3, or sorry, control 3, this will be looking at it from the west. Okay. So you can sort of see that this is sort of flipping. So maybe I can better explain this if we... You don't have to follow along, I'm just doing this thing. Okay. Maybe you can better see this here. Okay. If I hit 7, this will go into our top view, and the top view is just above the front view. So right now we're in front view, switch to top view. If I hit Control 7, it'll be the bottom view. Okay. So maybe you can kind of see, you know, how this is working. And this is sort of the method I was talking about in the last video where we can have 2 viewports. And let's say I want to have one view on the side and one view on top. So if I edit this vertex around, you can see how it's interacting. Maybe if I can zoom in a little closer. How I move this vertex will, and the front view can change how it looks in the side view. Does that make sense? Or I can move it this way, like that. So just play around with, you know, these different shortcuts. So 1, 3, 7, and then Control 1, 3, 7. And then just, you know, focusing with the numpad period, middle mouse, shift middle mouse. And yeah. Also, selecting objects is left click. So yeah. I think that's already common sense, but I don't know. You never know these days. So yeah, hopefully this video makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I can answer any questions about this, but that's going to do it for this video. So I'll see you in the next one.